Let's see what we got here. Doesn't he like some music? Nodding off. I don't know if YouTube does that. Hidden VOD track audio though. Play Spotify will. Okay, there we go. Get that on a Spotify track. I'm gonna keep it kind of low. I'm not sure if this is even getting mixed in, because I don't really deal with YouTube usually on live streams, but I also can't listen to my own thoughts. Alright, so Cata RBG Prep, trying to make Holy Priest work. You can already tell everybody, Lightwell is going to be our weakness if you're really trying to make this work. You're going to have to play with people who actually can click a Lightwell. Period, said, done. Can't do that. Move on to the next video, I guess. Chakras is the other thing. So, with chakras, the way the system was designed is actually a little broken. If you, I don't know, I call it stance dancing, but if you like swap your chakras correctly, and if you have a not necessarily predictable healing routine, but options that you can always choose from, like if you're okay with going, yes, I need to switch into Serenity, yes, I need to switch into Sanctuary, yes, I need to chastise, why, when, and how, and then being able to mix that in automatically with your rotation based on what buttons you push. Macros specifically with chakra stance swapping is the only way you will find the maximization of the class. Otherwise, you will just never be able to manually adjust it well enough to maximize the HPS out through it, HPS output throughput. Revelations. Don't give a fuck. Rapid renewal, just cool out renew. Yeah, that's pretty dope. Yeah, so you're basically like, if you're a holy priest, you're just renew heavy, and if you're a disc priest, you're just power word shield heavy. The reason we switched to holy in Cata is because of RBGs and RBGs almost specifically, outside of specific like use cases in raids, right? So if you're like PvEing, you're like, oh, well, so I got holy priest to do specifically this and specifically this, but okay, whatever. But the reason, and it's not really in Cata, it's actually in MOP, but I digress. The reason you can start doing it in Cata is because the HPS of the holy priest is basically scalable, whereas the throughput of the disc priest, while better initially, and I don't know, I guess logarithmically, right? Like, it should consistently gear piece for gear piece be better. But in an RBG where the fights are, okay, here's a rot fight, here's an FC fight, here's a whatever, you know, node fight. Those aren't necessarily predictable, but they are patterns that you can begin to recognize. And as soon as you recognize which each fight is, you can specialize yourself as a holy priest and maximize your HPS throughput, where a disc priest can't. You'll just you'll a disc priest out basically if they try to keep up with the same HPS. Whereas you can go, oh, this is a specific FC fight, let me switch to this chakra. And then not only are you doing that, but you're doing that with little to no ability of being interrupted because of the way they've set up the Holy Priest versus Disc Priest as well. Disc Priest is going to have to do more hard casts. Now, if you have a higher skill cap, great. Go play arenas, knock yourself out, and Disc Priest, you'll do much better than me. But if you're playing RBGs and you know the patterns of the fights, and you know the HPS needed for whichever compositions of the enemy teams, then you can start to actually do much better healing than almost any other healer. There's a few exceptions like Arduid beats you every once in a while, and then later in further expansion, obviously, Pandas beat you as well. So, well, Mistweavers or whatever, right? So, not like ideal, but if you have the niche, it's unbeatable, right? Like, you are basically bringing like 1.25 or 1.5 healers as a Holy Priest to any RBG that, say, a Disc Priest would bring. And on top of that, you have a few extra talent point options because of things like, you know, your Guardian Spirit and just things costing less to get to the higher points. And you can also buy some of the same talents at a lower tier in Disc. So if you do want to pick up a talent or two, like, it's not going to hurt you in the long run either. So Wowhead isn't super accurate about the way they break down numbers. It's kind of weird. I actually prefer old Wowhead. Might go back in time, Wayback Machine, and change this Wowhead because some of these technically aren't correct. I mean, I see what they're saying. They're like better written, but they're like not actually factually correct. Okay, so our int, they claim, becomes a top priority stat for Holy Priest. So it now grants spell power in addition to crypt. It's worth noting intellect grants less mana in Cata in comparison to Lich King. So they start mana crunching us. Spirit continues to be a vital stat for healer priests. It provides mana regeneration, place mana every 5. Haste rating is the most powerful secondary stat for AoE and grants additional ticks for healing over time, such as New Hymn of Hope and Divine Hymn. That gets interesting. Haste. Secondary stat grants additional ticks for Renew Hymn and Hope and Divine Hymn. So if you haste like prio or weight stat, you can have situations in which your hymn and your divine hymn especially can get an extra, you know, 5, 10k, whatever, ticks off. Not a whole lot, maybe in a raid, not a whole lot. Parsing, not a whole lot. Probably even in BGs. But in RBGs, when you can force teams to collapse, stand on my bubble, stuff like that, can make the difference between living through 2 Afi bots and not, you know? It can make a ton of difference. So then we have Mastery, which I guess is the new Cata, right? Echo of Light. Direct healing spells heal for an additional 10% over 6 seconds. Each point of Mastery provides an additional 1.25% healing over 6 seconds. So you can really extend your healing with this Mastery. This is like a second renew, basically, right? I can't remember if this one is dispelled or not off the top of my head, but I know eventually in MOP and WAD and whatever, they do become sort of, if not directly undispellable, they become like blankets almost, where it's like if they take one of these off, they're not going to get your renew, or if they take your renew off, they're not going to get your power worship. There's just not enough dispellable time to get them all. And then in some expansions are obviously like undispellable too, which I actually think Echo of Light might be by MOP. I'm not sure in Cata. Should look that up though. Leave a hot on your target an additional percentage based amount based off your total mastery rating. So this is just where PvP, especially in H Priest, comes cray cray, because you're gonna have a lot of mastery in PvP, obviously. So Echo of Light gets really fun, especially in Holy Priest, because that includes your Echo of Light. By the way, it's direct healing spells, which includes your chakra of Serenity, I believe, increases the critical effect chance of direct healing spells and causes you heal. So you'll be able to like almost top somebody off, and then that top will also give them a second hot renew style that will also top them off, and then they'll also have your renew, and they'll also have your power ward shield, and in all of that time you haven't had to cast a single thing. So all the bots, like the rogue kick bot that's like standing behind you in RBGs, and the two Affy bots that have you, you know, on focus with their bots like kicked on to 0.001%, like instant kick, will have a hard time kicking you if you never cast, right? So, and then what you can do too is you can bait them. So when this is getting a little bit into the RBG and a little bit less in the class, so I won't go too far into this, but basically you can time the fights where you can just peel people's kicks off them, because they're bots. They have very little control of them. Sometimes they have a hotkey, but for the most part they're automatic. So you can just wait for the fight to be easy, wait for your other two healers to have their cooldowns, and then you can just hard cast something and get kicked. Boom, you got one of the Affy locks. As soon as you're out of that silence, you know, maybe you get cleansed, whatever, you can start passing out some instas. You see the other locks comes up, you take his off, boom. Now they're both on lock silence bot cooldown, and you didn't really do anything in the fight. Now the fight starts ramping up. Both Affy locks are probably screaming on their team, oh, I've got, you know, Giga on focus, so I'll make, oh shit, I'm going cooldown. Like, they don't even know, you know, because you were baiting them earlier. And that's not an option you have as a Disc Priest. In the Disc Priest rotation, like, when you have to hard cast, you have to hard cast. You can juke it, sure, and that's skill cap, and if you can do that, great, awesome, good for you. Play Disc Priest, go nuts. But if you can't, you just want to provide throughput, and you want, like, the best rating you can for your class, regardless of spec, then Holy Priest is going to be the way to do it in RBGs. Because you have the option to take silences away from the enemy. And this is where BGT, the add-on, actually comes in super clutch. So I'm kind of excited to see what the add-on community is going to do, because we haven't had BGT yet, right? It hasn't been possible with the, not the API, but the interface for the LUA that Blizzard has provided. So kind of excited to see how that plays out. I'm not really like super up to date on the forums. I don't keep up with all that. I kind of just wait for the game to drop, and then I play it and I go, oh, okay, it did work. Oh no, they didn't do that. So hopefully though they'll include some BGT, and at the very least, you know, obviously some trinket use trackers that aren't just like spy or whatever, like we had in vanilla and in BT and in or I'm sorry, Burning Crusade, and in Waddle. Changes to these existing abilities. Divine Touch no longer grants an additional bonus to your instant initial heals from your new has been reduced to the 10% of the periodic effect. And heal, Binding Heal, or Flash Heal. The cast time of your next Greater Heal or Prayer of Healing is reduced by 20%, and mana cost reduced by 10%. Stacks up to 2 times. Last 20 seconds. Serendipity's Clutch, Binding Heal, Flash Shield. Greater Heal, Prayer of Healing. Greater Heal is obviously great at being able to scroll through your heals, Flash Heal, Heal, Greater Heal, whatever, but it's not actually going to be the skill cap that they like intended to be in the way they craft the class, at least in RBGs. Obviously it is in raids, this is how you become mana efficient, yeah, whatever, but in RBGs, you actually need to think more about what fight am I in. Am I in an AoE fight? And am I in a is my team taking direct damage fight, or am I in an offensive position? And it's not even where am I now? It's where was I and where will I be? Because if you start from a very offensive position, you know, this is like classic basketball, right? Great defenses and awesome offense, or vice versa, whatever. You can dictate the momentum of the fight with how you open. Again, changing your ability to be whatever an aggressive Disc Priest, or maybe not just an aggressive offensive healer, Holy Priest, or with your chastise, you know, chastise open, boom, bang, smite, whatever. But smite's not really going to be the thing either. Usually it's going to be some sort of stun to a fear, to a fallback, to a grip. Meanwhile, you're insta-hotting and dotting everything that's on your side to help boost everything. You won't be able to do that with Disc. Disc will be much more reactive. It'll be stand in the back, call out the rogue, fear the rogue. Like, you're playing a reactive gameplay. And vice versa. Maybe the team piles in on you, or maybe you have to be the one that peels off. Well, now all of a sudden you have a single FC ability, or you have the AoE heal ability. Whereas the Disc Priest might be the only one that does the escort. But then it's like, oh, I don't want to peel my Disc Priest out of the team fight. With Disc Priest, you're always making concessions. And with Holy Priests, you're always providing solutions. And that's the reason I think, at least in RBGs, maybe not so much for Cata, but I'm going to try it in Cata. I think I'm going to just kind of meme it a little bit. But especially by the time we get to MOP, obviously. We really just fucking own the bracket and nobody realizes it. So I'm going to have to put on a clinic real quick. I don't really care about the changes because honestly, I just play whatever expansion I'm playing. Like, I don't know who played this through WoW linearly, like the second time. Like, okay, just tell me what abilities I have and I'll play that. Very Gen Z of me. Okay, new abilities. This is actually kind of a heavy talk, so let me, I gotta get some notes out for this shit. That's our alert system. Hey, alarm. No, that's weird. The alarm comes over on the desktop. You seem to be okay with it. Alright, let's keep trying to dissect this now. Bap, boom, bap. Bip. Heavenly voice increases the healing time from your divine hymn. Damn, I almost feel like being outside right now. It's so fucking gorgeous. Maybe I should put a kettle on. Okay. Wow, this is getting wild. All I wanted to do was get some sun. Oh, my dog's awake. I'm boiling water. My whole life is alive. Okay, classifiability for the Holy Priest Healer. AoE healing, yada yada yada. They're able to single target heal if absolutely necessary through a proactive playstyle. Guardian Spear has a unique ability which provides some great defensive utility throughout both progression and perfected encounters, preventing a death and healing target 50%. Yeah, so those are the specific AoE encounters I was talking about. I don't really need any of this. Chakra grants Holy Priest additional buffs, and Revelations grants extra abilities. So Revelations is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about Chakra, Holy Stance, Dancing. And it's basically just between Serenity and Sanctuary. Instantly heals a target. It makes your Chastise an insta heal. Uh, but also increases the critical effect chance of your healing on the target by 25% for 6 seconds. You can manipulate that. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, I have to be careful because there's a certain level of gameplay that I want everyone to do, and then there's a certain level of gameplay that I think is skill capped, but might mostly be like information gate kept, and I don't really want to tell too many people. But basically, Holy Orb, Serenity, and that amount of healing, along with the other talent that I mentioned earlier, and the healing bonus on the target allows you to specifically heal at a specific time in RBGs. And anytime you can create an on-use utility like that, you're gonna have a much better time. And then of course you have what I was talking about before, the Sanctuary blesses the holy ground with the divine light, healing all within 350 sizes every 6 or 18 seconds. Increasing with haste, by the way, so if you get secondary haste, mastery haste gear for RBGs, which will be in plentiful in the PvE scene. Hold on, I gotta switch my dog's water out. she couldn't give a fuck. She's like, you got rid of all my piss. That's all I care about, Father. Father, you have removed all my piss. Alright, whatever. Where was I? Revelations. Chakra, the most notable being Sanctuary Chakra, which allows the Holy Priest to excel in their roles as AoE healers, buffing their AoE healing and granting them access to Holy One Sanctuary. Now we get into the real world. True. Gotta get rid of that rot. Blesses the ground with divine light, healing all within it for 357. Only one sanctuary can be active at a time. Healing effectiveness diminishes for each player beyond 6 within the area. So U minus the FC is 9. There's only 3. This is the other thing about Holy is the numbers they gave are specifically good for around 10 players, right? So if, it'd be harder to do this in a 25-man unless you're doing a 2-group PvE fight. But a 10-man raid, you're almost always going to be really benefiting from it. Also, RBGs, obviously, without the FC's healer, you're already down to 8. You're only missing out on 2 for diminishing returns. But really good on DR. Okay, so Holy Priest can obtain various tools and buffs through chakras and revelations. With the option of their buff, their heals, they gain a choice to spells, which place Holy Word Chastise, further enhancing their. So here's the thing about Holy Priest is you're not using Chastise as much as you were as Disc, is at least in arenas. Or RBGs, excuse me. In arenas, you obviously would. So setting up the Chastise, the whatever, Chastise the Fear to death, or whatever your combo might have been in arenas, there's less self comboing, or there's less one-to-one partner comboing in RBGs, and there's much more just being aware of the whole game. Oh, that guy's feared and he's going to come out of a fear, tracking that cooldown and knowing where he is based off your position and seeing he's getting close to you in that fear, and then going, oh, I can chastise that healer out of that fear. They don't have a trinket. They're going to have to sit that full chastise. That allows maybe like my warlock to fear out, right? So that's 3 different sets. Well, that's probably a DR on the fears. That's a terrible example. But maybe that allows my, I don't know, rogue to combo out or something, right? That's 3 different classes then that would have had full DR avoided, or any DR avoided, just by CCing and chaining together and allowing you to be the combo in between, especially people like me who are the healer leader of RBG teams. If you can be the combo in between of what you're calling, like if you are maybe not necessarily TCing, but like CC subcalling and strat calling with CC subcalls, you're going to have a much better ability if you can track those CCs going out and then fill in the gaps where they're not getting chained, because then all of a sudden it becomes not just like a BG or an RBG, but it becomes like you create multiple arena groups within your RBG. And if you watch some of the best RBGs on European side, it's high tier arena players basically playing the exact same way, where they're sub playing. And then if you watch some of the funnest games on the NA side, but they're not exactly the highest tier players, you'll see the same thing. You'll see top tier arena players just needing some whatever RBG, honor, or conquest, or games, or whatever, popping in and then just sticking around in sub arena teams. They'll specifically dominate because of that in Arathi Basin, where they can just play, you know, micro arena games at each node, and it'll be fine. Cabogear, you can't really do that anymore because it was so close. They weren't far enough away to create sub games. So you'd find these arena players just in like team fights, and they'd be like, I can't help much other than just lock out this healer. Well, locking out a healer gets back to the CC chaining that you can create amongst lower tier players, right? So maybe you have a really good parser who's some melee class like warrior or rogue or something, I don't know, and you're on Cat mode. It's not gonna be there for Cat obviously, but you could, for example, be facing like a rank 1 player in arenas, and they're just sitting a healer, maybe sitting a healer and off CCing another. Um, Probably. You're now like 1800 or 2K player. You can make like a 2400 player by chaining their CCs with another person that's also like 2K or 22. That's where RBGs becomes really fun, is because of the numbers and the mechanics of the strats and the levels force you to not just outplay your opponent in the standard WoW rock paper scissors, but it forces you to play that game while simultaneously thinking about strategies and chain CCing and like multi-team effects, like what I call like 5-man arena effects, which aren't taken very seriously. Although recently I've noticed a lot of people are really looking to 5-man. Okay, anyways, I digress. So Serenity, Sanctuary, and Chastise. Chastise, it's kind of weird the way they show it here, because Chastise is actually your default stance, and then you have to stance into Serenity or stance into Sanctuary. Albeit there's Smite, Mind Spike, or Chastise. But it's like, dude, I'm already like increases your damage done by Shadow and Holy spells by 15%. So I guess like technically, if you're going for a kill, you should be in Chastise. And maybe that's why I consider it like not really a stance, because I'm never going for a kill in Holy. If my team's going for a kill, I'm going for a top, right? So I should be in Serenity topping, or Sanctuary, giving everybody hot burners that they can run with, knowing we're about to execute, and then they can run out and go do whatever, right? It's activated through Chakra, either their Prayer of Healing. So this is where it caught me in the beta. It's supposed to say Prayer of Healing Poe and then Prayer of Mending Palm. Palm never worked for me, and I actually ended up breaking Serenity at one point, so I stopped trying to keep it going. Serenity is activated through Chakra, followed by Heal, Flash, Greater, Binding. Serenity provides the priest with a buff that increases the critical effect. This is actually terribly written. Chakra of Serenity provides the priest with a buff that increases the critical effect chance of their direct heals by 10% and allows their direct heals to refresh the duration of renew. So that's what you want. Okay, so then you start renew tracking, and you've got a burner on the team, and you've got a 10-man burner, a 5-man burner. I call anything short of a true 10-man, like if you don't have your FC, if you don't have your FCs healed, if you don't have your rogue, boom, you're at a 7-man. You're at a 5-man burner, right? Um, Likewise, like, you should think about a 5-man burner, because in a worst case scenario, one of your other healers has died, and or one of your other DPS, and so that 7 has become a 5, and so you're trying to keep a 5 alive in a team fight against another 7. You're down 2, trying to keep it alive. So those are typically the two actual healing scenarios you're going to find within needing to figure out Serenity versus Sanctuary. Now you have Serenity through Flash Heal, Binding Heal. Those are kind of the only two ones, and this is why I talk about like Heal and Greater Heal not really being super necessary. Not because they're not necessary for your rotation, you shouldn't learn them, you shouldn't use them in PvE. But within PvP, excuse me, they're not going to be the ones that will actually trigger your macro. So while you do need to know them and you do need to include them in your rotation, you should be macroing and stance dancing to Flash Heal and Binding Heal, because those are going to be the two conditions under which the team fight is changing, right? So you want to be in Serenity anytime you're Flash Healing somebody, right? So I'm going to open up with, depending on what the counter opener is, either a Renew to pre-heal, a Shield to just allow them to not to pre-defense, essentially, and then a hard Flash Shield to put me in Serenity. If I think there's any way I'm going to be kicked and I don't want to be kicked on the opener, I will obviously not cast Flash Shield. If I do want to be kicked on the opener, I will prioritize opening with a Flash Shield to make myself just look that super good. Likewise, I'll also prioritize, maybe not prioritize, but I will look juicy with like a Greater Heal or something like that too. Sometimes you can tell a lock like, hey, life tap like way too hard, which knows either the lock is in the front of the group if you have 2, or in the middle of the group if you have 1. and he's looking juicy to the rogue. If there's a rogue or some sort of stealth, maybe a druid with a counter on the opener. And you can tell them, like, oh, just life tap, dude. Like, get low. Let me greater heal you. Because if they're not with you, which they shouldn't be if they're of any decent skill cap, they should be behind one of the healers or close to the healers, getting ready to either counter sap or counter open on the lock. And when they lock you out on the greater heal, you will know that it is the lock or the druid or the whatever in the team fight spreading the rot. Then once the rot has happened, you can just switch to sanctuary straight out. And vice versa. If they don't open on you, or if they do open on you, maybe don't get the kick and you get the flash heal off and you have the Serenity proc, now you have 10% on your actual kill target. Sometimes the teams will TC onto the kill target. If they're TCing on the kill target, then you just have the extra 10%. You just heal through it. It's like easy money, easy cash, and you're just pumping your meters basically. You're also keeping people alive or whatever. And then it just becomes a counter rotational. Then it goes back to rock, paper, scissors, right? If they do this, if they use that trinket, you use this, you use that trinket, rock, paper, scissors, X, right? Now the trick becomes when and how to sanctuary and serenity swap, and when to chastise swap out. So you want to be able to holy fire tag, like say a rogue, for example, that you think might be leaving a team fight for a stealth and a re, or a stealth and a counter strat. Like holy firing them, obviously then they're gonna have to be dispelled, etc., whatever. But it keeps them in combat, preferably out of stealth. My dog's losing her shit out there. Okay, good. That's what I want. But if you can do that, if you can go into a chastise and maybe keep them out of stealth, and then, like I was saying, maybe weave in the CC and create a higher skill cap CC chain with your chastise, you're going to want to swap out of Serenity to chastise. And the same if you're going to get the rot, you're going to want to swap out of Serenity to sanctuary. Eventually there's going to become, depending on the expansion, depending on the gear, depending on time in the expansion, a point where rot becomes the meta. And you're going to find yourself leaving Serenity for Sanctuary. You're also going to find yourself, maybe not leaving Mastery for Haste, but you're going to find yourself like reprioritizing some of your stats to be more AoE heavy. But that's always late game. It's always Spell Cleave, Spell Weave late game, late expansion. It's not going to be something you're doing in the beginning. In the beginning, you're going to be called away a lot. You're going to need a lot of speed boosts with the grips and the power word shields and the serenity chakra state. Now, how do you bind that? Flash heal, binding heal. Secondary heals on the opener when you team fight. I heal you, heal me. I got a guy on me. I fucking juked his shit, but I still got a melee sitting on me. I'm still at 25%. Now I can hard cast on myself. That's what every disc is gonna have to do. Or since you juked, you can binding heal your way into another serenity or into serenity, and create that 10% critical effect chance. Just refreshing all your renews this entire time. Once all those renews are on their second or third or fourth or whatever, but after their first tick renew, you've now gotten a free double 7-man round of instacasts, global, 7 times. You got free of those. So you should be outpumping absolutely everybody, assuming the team survives, and assuming you guys are all using healers or using their correct cooldowns to keep each other alive and counter dispelling, right? So into Sanctuary. Again, this is more of a late game rot problem, but in the beginning, you're still going to want to get the 5, even if you have 7 or 10 alive or whatever you're team fighting. You're going to want to get the majority, or at least like the medium, because it tick procs based off your haste and the people and your chakra. So you proc your shit, you wait for the proc, you pop your shit, you swap to Sanctuary using Prayer of Healing or Prayer of Mending. If you pre-team the Prayer of Mending, the way you get back is just renew, flash heal yourself. So you have to be okay with burning mana and over or under healing on the opening of a team fight, assuming you understand the team fight that's coming, and that's why it has to be scripted or predictable. That's why like Holy Priest isn't the best for PvE because you're not always able to predict how somebody's gonna mess up or something's gonna proc or whatever. But generally speaking, at top tier RBGs in team fights, like anytime you run into Abney, anytime you run into Balamos, anytime you run into whatever, you're gonna know how they fight. On the EU side, you know they're gonna team fight. You know they're gonna team rot. Like they're just collective communist assholes. You know that, right? Like there's too many people in Latvia not for this to get weird. So understanding your enemy is actually way easier than scripting a PvE fight sometimes because a human in like scale is way more predictable than even a computational model scale with procs and with 25 humans inputting like randomness. Like you might have one guy who's never done the mechanic before and stands on fire and you're like, "What the no matter how much you yell at him, if he's that bad, you're not going to explain to him how to not stand in fire in the fight, right?" But and maybe the same is true for RBGs, but you can just kick that guy after the next game and then replace him, and eventually you'll have a team under which these conditions of Holy Priest do apply. So I don't want people to watch either now, later, whatever, see me just reading Wowhead and ranting like an idiot and think, oh, this will work for 1750. I can just easy money life this. No, you can't. You have to actually understand that this is a very specific niche, and if you don't play it with these macros under these niche and in these conditions, you're not going to find much success because especially in the beginning, you're going to be stat nerfed a little bit from direct healing, but also from player skill cap because of your light well. They're not going to be able to click. So you need to very, very quickly find a 2-man, a 3-man, a 5-man that will click a light well, period. If you can't get that going, you're fucked. Now you need to convince a PvE team to take you into the raids and give you the off gear that isn't really off gear. It's being fought for by like Arduids and shit. And then finally, you need to take all of that and be able to form and strat live while chaining CCs, while chakra dancing. And if you can do all that, you'll find a lot of success. It'll be an easy 2400. It was the easiest 2400 in my life. And that was coming from somebody who before BC Waddle like seriously struggled with 22 in the originals. Like seriously. BC especially still backpedaling. Waddle still backpedaling for most of it until I got my second roommate in like 08, 09, 07, somewhere around there. And he was the one that explained he was a rogue. So he explained like, character movement or whatever. So very, very tough time. But Cata is the moment where you can start to take what is a larger understanding of a map and PvP interaction, and instead of very manually skill capping your way to a rating, this is the first time you can strategize and spec and comp your way to a rating. Like, I mean, you could just queue to a rating at a certain time of day against certain teams, right? Like, rating becomes much more of a liquid concept at this point in the game. So this is the best time, I think, to learn the Holy Priest because it's viable. And it's the first time it's viable. And people don't realize how viable it is for PvP because a lot of people, if anybody, in my opinion, ever truly understand the chakra stance that whatever game developer, I need to actually look this guy's name up one day, whoever was in charge of the class Holy Priest during the original Cata expansion, I need to go talk to him about his theory, his game theory conceptions, because I think I understood it, but I think it kind of slipped between the cracks for a lot of other people. So we'll get there though. Like I said, flash heal, binding heal, Prayer of Healing, Prayer of Mending. Smite, kind of your only option for Chastise, but the comeback Smite and the drop Chakra also works, and we'll get to that later. So there's other ways to go back to default. It's not really 3 stances, it's kind of 2 stances, and you have to figure out where, when, how, and with which modifiers. So if you're going to modify through Flash Heal, for example, or I'm sorry, Prayer of Healing, Prayer of Mending. If you're going to modify through Prayer of Mending, for example, you should know when to Flash Heal and when to Prayer of Mending, or when to Prayer of Mending, when to Renew if they're both Instaticks, or Instacast. So you can just renew, pre, and then you can renew, shift renew, and maybe that palms somebody, and it's like, boom, now I'm in Sanctuary. I need to, this, that, or the other, do whatever. So the actual stands, if you guys have seen the pace bin, if you've seen my videos before, it will be pretty cool to fucking check out when we get it all working. And technically now Cataclysm has dropped, so once the servers come back up, or if they are already back up, I'll check them now. We can start writing some of those macros, start writing some of those rotations, get the talents up. This will be super sick when we start seeing it in BGs. Because what you'll see is my ability, having already done this before, of really kind of pumping the numbers and just keeping people alive when they absolutely should not be alive. I mean, like, the thing I can think about the most is just graveyard camping. You now, as a holy priest, have the ability to counter graveyard camp. So if the enemy team pushes you to the graveyard, and you're getting graveyard camped, as a holy priest, you can give out the ability for one player to not die. If you can coordinate your whole team, obviously, this probably won't work in BG so much, but it still can to some extent, and I'll show you guys some examples. You can keep one player alive, usually an FC or a TC. TC, especially on a graveyard camp, TC goes for the kill or TC goes for the CC kill. Meanwhile, you stay in the back. You keep a secondary alive through just hard straight casting, Serenity Sanctuary swapping. Fall back onto your own deathbed because you have the graveyard timer, right? So you can just you can kill yourself and heal in a death with absolutely no interrupts, top everybody off, and time it so that you res on an instant timer. So you're essentially never not alive on a graveyard camp as a holy priest, which is kind of one of the only healers who do. I mean, any healer who can track res timers can do that, or just computate team fights can do that. But holy priest is the only healer that has the ability to hang out post death and do it. So you have much more control, much more fluidity of how the team fight should go, and who should die, or how delayed the enemy should be as well. Sometimes they try to bait you, especially in Warsong Goals, for example, where they try to bait you into a graveyard camp, or they think they're graveyard camping you, and it turns out you just bait them into a graveyard camp, right? Like you get them like lobbed way over. Meanwhile, your FCs run twice or something. Your FC and your one healer, especially if your one healer is a holy priest and has movement effects. Like, holy shit, it's gonna get so sick, dude. The plays, I'm just excited for the clips, to be honest. Like, it's gonna be sick. All right, let's do another breakdown of the strengths, weaknesses of the holy priest. Ooh, guns out, suns out. Alright, we just got a few more minutes and then we'll have to go walk the dog, take a lunch break, but we'll be back later today. For sure. How do you spell nonplussed? Healthy. Nonplussed. Right. Yeah, I can't help you with any of that. This is actually kind of important. The argument, at least in RBGs, I think in raids, the argument is between human and night elf or human and dwarf. I forget where we're at with the offset of human. Human is just the double trinket. But this guy is saying priest, human, human, Cata. I don't know what that means. Gnome? Only in Cata? Like what? This is dude. Who gets paid to contribute to this website? Organ. Wait, I didn't even know that was an option. The organ benefit. Oh, it's gotta be for Shadow Priest, right? Yeah, Shadow Priest. Horde, yeah, we're not playing Horde. At least we're not rolling as Horde. Probably gonna play Horde secondary, but Troll, Avi. Goblin, New and Kata. Maybe that's what these mean. Because Goblin might be interesting. Horde side. I think I would go Undead though, still. In any case, I'm going to be playing Night Elf to start. It's pretty fucking wrong. I don't play Kata, Holy Priest, or any RBG for that matter, just for the guys and the bots. It's just an anti-bot racial, basically. It's the only racial that's anti-bot, I think. Could be wrong about that. But basically, you can just bait bots. For example, if you have quartz and you have your MS cooldown counter adjusted properly, you can just see whatever millisecond the bots are timed to after a while. That's why I was saying earlier, like you should just hard cast flash heal, under certain conditions, just as bait to see where the bots kick you at, whether it be 0.1%, or 0.1 second, excuse me, 0.3 seconds, 0.7, 0.9, or 0.99. There's usually a few presets. There's not typically very many bots running at any given moment for any given expansion. There's usually 1, 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5, but it's usually 1 or 2, sometimes 3. And you can just go look them up, and you go find a couple of the melee conditions, and you just research all are the default settings for this kick bot. Oh, it's 0.1 second. And those are typically the worst, the insta kick bots, because you're like, oh, that guy's botting every time they do it, you know. You instantly try to do a greater heal every single time you do it, you instantly get kicked. It becomes a little obvious after a while. Oh, that guy's set to 0.1, right? Or 0.01. And vice versa. If you're like always clipped at the end, again, especially against top tier teams, you will start to find that, oh, this guy must, I don't know, understand his bot or program his bot or adjust his settings or whatever, because all of a sudden it's set to 0.999 or whatever. And he maybe knows your MS. This is also worse the lower your MS is, which is why a lot of bots are set to lower MS, like 0.01 or 0.03 or zero point 0.5 or whatever. It's because they don't want to run the counter risk. But if you have great ping and they have great ping, and you're both playing on West Coast servers, for example, really near Irvine, you're going to be super fucked for them doing that. And that's very common in high tier, especially. They'll have a hotkey button typically, which is how it works, where after a certain percentage, they'll just hold down a modifier button. Everything will continue according to plan unless a certain condition is met. And usually the certain condition met is that you're at like 0.99% of a really long ass heal, and then you get kicked. Or 0.75, or something past the point where like your juke has been wasted juking, right? So in arenas, you can just report, ban, repeat, leave, whatever. In RBGs, it's a little bit harder to see who did what, why, when, how, without going back and watching the VODs. But typically, if someone's got their kickbot set that high in RBGs, it's because they know they're at a skill cap or a rating at which people will be juking. And when you begin to juke as a healer at that rating, if they have it set to 99% on their kickbot, you're just wasting time juking, right? You're becoming a CC for them by thinking you're gonna juke a kickbot that's set to 99%. It's just never gonna happen if you guys are on the same MS. Now, if you're playing EU in the NA, or you've got some other shenanigans going on, then yeah, knock yourself out. I wouldn't worry so much about it because anybody who variables up that high is probably going to be turning it down after a couple of missed kicks on you. But also, you probably are already suffering from a lack of HPS throughput from all sorts of other lag delay. So you want to be playing in real time whenever you want to be playing on the lowest MS. If you live in California, you want to be playing on a West Coast server. If you're living in New York, you want to be playing on an East Coast server. If you're living in Europe, you want to be playing on a European server. If you're playing on, well, Russian servers, they're private now. If you're playing on Chinese servers or Asiatic servers, you want to be in Asia. Period. Because you will have the highest skill cap that way. And ultimately, you want to develop your skill cap because higher skill cap is going to lead to higher MMR. However, if you're trying to get a higher MMR based off the same skill cap, like let's say you're just reaching the end of the week and you find this video, these are the alternatives you want to do in order to min-max your skill cap per week like a boss. So they instantly start by saying humans the preferred race in Alliance. Yeah, probably just because they're not taking it from an RBG perspective. Spirit wasn't even entered into my computational 3%. I mean, I guess it matters again for raids if you're ooming. But usually if you're ooming in an RBG, it's because you've made a mistake, not because you're actually just getting out clicked or whatever. See, and this is why, like, do priorities. Will there survive is the only reason you go human. It's not human. At least for RBGs, again. Right. Yeah, so with Will there survive, you just get a second trinket on a 2-minute cooldown. Now, here's my problem with Will there survive, is 2 minutes isn't actually typical the rotation of a fight. However, this is what I love about human. If you're in a fair fight, the proc rotation, if you have one on use and one proc trinket, the proc rotation of a typical distribution in Cata and MOP and WAD is that the proc rotation does follow an RBG fight. So it's very convenient, very regularly. Not so much in an arenas, you kind of get out of timed a little bit. It gets a little weird, but definitely worth human if you're 18 to 22, 18 to 23 maybe. Also, if you're unsure about how much time you have to devote and how much gear you can get guaranteed to you, like if you're only taking off pieces in your guild and your guild doesn't PvE very well, or maybe your arena team is only 1800 and you're just not sure if you guys are going to push that next whatever 2k or 2-2 you need for X, Y, or Z trinket, then definitely don't roll Night Elf trying to min-max for like a 2400 RBG game assuming Guise is going to save you, right? Guise is 100% an anti-bot, anti-2400, anti-cheating strategy. And human, especially will to survive with the correct trinkets, well, it should be better, theoretically, in a fair fight with under all those conditions. Plus diplomacy's dope, especially in fucking rep grinds like Cata or whatever. Viciousness, flat 1% critical strike. Okay, I don't give a fuck. Night Elf does not have any strong racials to help you much in PvZ. It is true. Nature resistance, quickness. I kind of like quickness, honestly, while leveling. Wait, maybe not leveling. What am I talking about? Reduces the chance that melee and range attackers will hit you. That's actually pretty good in RBGs. I don't know why I said leveling. Dude, my brain was balanced out for that one. Yeah, for RBGs, you'll hear things. If you play enough games, you'll hear things like you feel untouchable, which starts to feel really good. It also makes you feel really good anytime you're going against top tier players because they're typically running melee at the beginning of an expansion. So think like Abney Rogue and Warlords, right? Something like that. Um, it's really fun when they send a rogue to 1v1 in like farm and you respond back with a holy priest and or LM and you win the node and you win the cooldown, or maybe not the node but the cooldowns. You defend the node. You keep the cooldowns against a top tier player like that, or Wreckful and Arathi Basin on Horde side, right? Like that was a really great one. I think that might have been a Cata fight. Could have been WAD, where arguably one of the best players to ever play the game, especially in melee. Um, and all of a sudden you get all their cooldowns. Like what? Or I should rephrase that. You avoid them getting all of your cooldowns and you get some of theirs in response. It's very refreshing to have that ability to not have to out throughput your opponent, but to be able to just simply outthink them, outstrat them, outmaneuver them, out whatever them, team fight them, comp them, and to get results because of that. And this is one of those situations where you can do that. The ghost effect of Night Elf and quickness. Now, I think the actual, if you're talking RPGs specifically in Night Elf, the top tier for sure, number one, because you're going to have to, need to, want to drop your ability to be targeted from the enemy, especially when they're using computational models like bots to counter you. You're going to have to be able to wipe yourself off the board for them. So that Night Elf Ghost ability is pretty sick. The only time it doesn't really work is when they're using those secondary hacks, and I'm not really familiar with the current atmosphere or even the past atmosphere. I was never like a user, but I did a lot of like forum research, own 3D kind of stuff. And there's some where you can like see through the map, see through the models, where even guys won't help you. And when that's the case, then obviously you just need to get your whole team to report them, and you need to stop queuing into them, and you need to move on. Not that you should queue into bots either, but when you find random groups, it's kind of hard to avoid like the random affliction bot or the random rogue bot who wants to get the RBG points in between their PvE gear. And you'll see a lot of that in random queuing between 2K and 2.4K. So it's kind of unavoidable. So I'm not saying you should strat around it. I'm kind of like doing a little victim blaming here. But you should be aware that there is another level too where they kind of have like God mode and there's no amount of guys or target dropping that'll help you. There was one rogue PK especially who was especially bad about this. He just he always pretended to be some high level player or like super aware, and it was like, dude, the only way you have that information is if you can see information unavailable on our maps. So like you're obviously hacking. But that aside, you will know the more games you play what class you want. And if you buy the bonus right now, you can get a free 80 boost. So one of the things I'm considering doing is just having a human and having a night elf available. Because I'm not sure if enough of those type of players will still be playing the game, 10 years on or whatever, to want to make that a viable strat. That being said, I'm still going to run Night Elf on my first priest for sure. But my second priest is either going to be human or maybe Horde. Haven't decided. Okay, there's Gnome, like the Night Elf, the Gnome's like Escape Artist, pretty fucking dope actually, as far as that shit goes. I love doing late game Escape Artists and late expansion Escape Artists. Cata, I mean, if that's your thing, sure. Doesn't come up so much in RPGs, depending on your spec and comp, but it's fun. When it happens, it's very YouTubeable, too, so you should definitely get the clip. Yeah, Will There Survive also does do the same thing, so it's kind of relevant. But you get a higher int cap with Elf, so... Or with Gnome, excuse me. I also do like that you're probably going to have engineering and tailoring or some top tier combo, right? Like you want some PvP combo, whatever it is. Typically, most expansions I go engineering tailoring just for the proc lineup because the proc lineup multiplies. Anytime you can multiply, you're going to be creating momentum in team fights. So I like to multiply whenever possible. Typically, I go engineering and tailoring. Should the engineering be fucking good? It's really hard in Night Elf, and it's pretty hard in Human to do a direct engineering, at least on the gold, unless you guys do, GDKP or something. So have fun with that. I don't really care about Janai. Don't really care about Dwarf is after they lost Fear Ward. They were so fucking cool when they had Fear Ward. Stone Form's alright. I could actually see that being somewhat useful if they kept also a Fear Ward that guides them, like Night Elves. Like, if they had a second Night Elf, Dwarf would still be OP. I think they just were tired of having so many elves in the game because I don't think they sold as many copies. Yeah, and pretty much everything else sucks. AoE Silence is kind of cool, though. Arcane Torrent, that's actually kind of cool. You'd have to, like, build a comp around that, though. Like, you'd need kind of, like, either a lot of silences or no silences, you know what I'm saying? And you need a rock comp. A rock comp with no silences or a spread team fight with a ton of silences. And you guys would just fuck around. But you'd have to be so coordinated to make that work. And it just seems weird to build a character around team coordination. Which is, again, my very first caveat for Holy Priest Cata RBGs on the initial expansion because you're relying a lot on team coordination. But I have a feeling I can find the players to make it happen. Pure stats for engineering are too high. The insane amount of utility it provides places a top profession to pick the best profession. Paired with its leather workings, it allows you to use the greater drums of speed. The speed of a party moves within 40 hours within the last 30 seconds. Don't give a fuck. That's some PvE shit. Leather working is typically seen as the best profession. Tailoring, here we go. I mean, engineering is just, yeah, you just fucking need it for every. Honestly, just the arachnoweave. Arachnoweave? How does one arachnoweave? Allowing you to turn the cloak into a parachute. That, for Arathi Basin, is the only reason you need engineering. You'll win every Arathi Basin as a Holy Priest if you can do that. You team fight the LM. You slow fall guys, cap the BS, and you now have a 3 cap opener every single time you're Alliance. So boom, bang, boom. I'm not a rapper. And then you put the, what is it, the proc trinket? Hyperspeed accelerators permanently attaches hyperspeed accelerator. The paraclose allowing skill engineering. That. That's cool, but no. Hand mounted pyro. No. Spring move. No. That's not, wait, where's the. Oh, the boost. That's dope too. Can't use that in RBGs, I don't think. Hyperspeed accelerator. Man, maybe we actually lost. There are alternatives. Anyways, let's look. Tailoring, light weave embroidery. That's the proc. Boom, subtle pattern in light could give you a chance to increase your spell power by 295 for 15 seconds. And you'll just want to weave around the weaves, basically. Same with Sanctified Spell Thread, it's just brilliant spells. With Sanctified Spell Thread, increasing spell power by 50 to spirit and 20. Just a hard stat gain you want to have. They're claiming leatherworking, I don't know, maybe that's some PvE shit, who fucking knows. Jewel crafting, not actually a bad idea. This is another pure stat throughput that you can do right away. Very smart strategy here because you'll gain a lot of gold doing jewel crafting, but you will also get those jewel crafting only gems and slots apparently. That will just always add more ability. So like earlier when I was talking about being a ghost, if you're a night elf because you're just like dodged, what was it? 2%, 1%. Yeah, melee and range attackers reduces the chance that they'll hit you by 2%. That's fucking sick, dude. It just makes you like this little ghost, right? Like you don't even see it. Same with jewel crafting. It just makes you this little beast. You never see it, but you're just like, if you can top meters, this makes you just like a little bit epic, right? But it makes you a little bit always epic. So like that's sick. But if you're not a meter topper, like if you need a boost, jewel crafting's out there. If you're not min maxing, do not go jewel crafting. If you don't know how to run the auction house, do not go jewel crafting. Like if you don't know how to run a bracket, do not go jewel crafting because you are min maxing. Like this is a second tune. Like this would be what the human does or something, right? As opposed to like the night elf. And then finally enchanting ring, greater spell power, the famed ranger. I do like going enchanting on my priest. 23 spell power, 46 spell power as a perk of being an enchanter. You gotta just kind of do the math out on that one. If it ends up being worth it, if the gold ends up being worth it. I like to actually wait on my professions for that exact reason. I don't think somehow the math will change on this one. It wasn't this way when I ran Cata. I could be wrong. I do have priests that are enchanting, and I like enchanting just as a gold maker and as like a. I like hanging out sometimes, like on weekends, and just enchanting people's shit and talking to random people and looking at their gear. But I'm just a fucking nerd, so what the fuck do I know? You know, right? So that's what I would say for all being down there that. Let's go look at the talents. Picking holy to start, I can already tell you these are fucked. These aren't right. Holy shit, these are so fucking off. They're close though. We're getting there. Let me see. Do I actually have a? Let's bring that back up. Let's bring that bad boy back up. There we go. Wait, can we min max this? I do have to walk my dog. I only have a few more minutes. I have to walk. I get to walk my dog. My dog is amazing. See if the servers are back up. Maybe we can do some of these live. So hello, so hello. Okay, the Doge has fell asleep. We might get another few minutes or so in. Oh yeah, I think we got this. All right, now we got something going. Serendipity is going to be an interesting one. I wouldn't do it off the opener, but I also don't have anything else off the opener. Bro, how far off was I on the other one? Unska. Dude, Icy Veins buys so much fucking SEO. It's insane. How is that profitable? Like, honestly, how is that fucking profitable? And then we get point capped out. This is where it gets weird. Okay, let's figure this out. This is like more of a level 80 build, right? We would do something like Serendipity, Flash Up Binding with our swaps. Wait, what? Your next greater heal or prayer of healing. Yes. Top. As him smite holy fire. Heal and greater heal. I actually don't care about any of that. Healing. Could not care less about any of that. I'm trying to build here. Am I trying to build out the serendipity? When you heal or binding heal or flash heal, the cat's gonna next greater heal. Prayer of healing. Where was the Poe on this? I can't remember how deep in Poe is. I know it's important in serendipity. A pair of 30 yards. Off of the target or off of me? Mm-hmm. The plant again. And I just had one of these build outs earlier that I was working with. Might only yeah, I don't see how any of that helps. Maybe that's why it was all broken. Shield. Yes. I need. Okay, so can we back up on this one? And what was this one? Whenever you are victim of an attack, is it? What do I get? Finding out. So basically, if you're gonna binding heal, follow it up with a Poe. Or oh, this is actually the swap. Yeah, serendipity is the swap. So binding heal or flash heal into serendipity into Poe, because your Poe will get reduced by 10% mana. Wait, healing spell is. Wait, I don't understand these words. When you heal with binding heal or flash heal, the cast time of your next greater healer prayer of healing spell is reduced by 10%. Oh, so you'll get 10% reduced time on Poe. Mana cost by 5. Stacks of times. That's 20 seconds. So you just that's what it is. Is your serendipity guarantees you the swap into Poe, as opposed to the risk has damage smite. Yeah. So you're swapping chastise for Poe, serendipity for chastise. There. These are those two options. It also doesn't get another. Which we might have to actually look into. I'm not sure if that's the right move. I'm not sure if that's the right move, sir. I think it's body and soul that a lot of people would actually argue with, but let's keep going and figure out where we are. I think WoW had actually. Oh, I have WoW had open. I can just check. They do across the board +1, across the board, across the board, across the board -1. So that's just one swap. Across the board -2. They don't do victim of attack. But I think you can't get in. Oh, no, you can get in. Okay, you can get in. Across the board. Back into attack. And then how many do I have left over? You have 2 talent points. You can do the 1 into mental agility, reduce the mana cost if you're going to cast spells by 4%. Very clutch. Or increase the damage absorption by your power word shield. Low tier level, I'm actually not going to go with that one. I'm going to do with the mental agility +1. But then I still have one unspent one point. Now, if you. Okay, here's where it gets weird. If you agree in doing what you should do with, you should always put all talent points into it, unless you're trying to get a certain cap. And then, so like if I put 1 into mental agility, I should put all into mental agility over improved power word shield. But my instinct says empower word shield. That being said, if you look at darkness, haste increase. Can you get those early ticks early though? No, you can't. So not worth it. Increase the damage of your shower? No. Decrease the cooldown of your feint ability? No. If that was the leveling one, which I can't remember, the siphon, I think they got rid of. Yeah. They're like, you shouldn't level it. I don't. That was smart of them though. Then yeah, I'd probably put the one last point into mental agility, right? Just when it causes. Oh, that's fucking brings the absorption. Um. Oh. The 9K. And healing them for 20% of the absorption amount. So you can get a 10K for an 11K. You can make your 9K 10K. At 26,000. That's actually fucking fudge. I wouldn't mind splitting that for leveling, but I'm not sure I'd recommend it for RBG in the final round. Um, we seem to be prioritizing mental agility. Kind of interested in, I don't know, and healing by 2%. I'll have to play around with it because we can swap these points around. My early thinking, and this is not an RBG thought, this is the leveling thought, but that increasing holy spell healing by 4% it looks like will be much more significant than reducing the mana cost of mana spells by 7%. So I'd probably do something like this. However, right. Yeah, I don't know. These are probably all the same in leveling. There probably is a way to min max them. I don't have any of the numbers in front of me. Plus, this will make my numbers look cool on video recordings when I'm doing. If I can proc it. Here's the damage absorbed. Will actually probably increase my HPS. In the pre-patch VODs, but yeah, I don't care about minimum. Yeah, all I care about is the procs. Yeah, and I want to see the procs, so I'll go with this one. And I think that's right. Are there any other talent? Suppose I should put 1 point here. Just guys, yeah, fuck that. That's retarded. People say to avoid spirit of redemption upon death. The priest becomes the spirit of. Yeah, if we weren't PvP nerds, I would agree, but I am, so we won't, and that will that. Plus, we got all the points down without spending all the extra monies. I fucking think. What are we doing for glyphs? Renew, don't have it. Light well, don't have it. Prayer of healing, don't have. Prayer of healing makes. I'm not sure how many of these we can actually get in pre-patch either. And then Circle of Healing, don't have it. Master Spell, don't have it. Prayer of Mending. Archer. Yes! Oh, dude. Major Glyphs is clutch as fuck. Prayer of Mending. Yeah, all those major glyphs are actually kind of way more important than the prime glyphs. Well, the prime glyph renews. Yeah, okay, cool. Oh shit, I didn't learn any of that, did I? Learn it. You'll be fine. Okay, let's go see if we can get those glyphs. And then I really do have to walk my dog after that. Yeah, that's another bonus of running Holy Priest. Your glyphs are cheaper. So much cheaper. Clip that shit. Finishing power. What the fuck is this bitch? Oh, Jessica, where you be at? Jessica. Jessica. I don't like that you can't see through buildings. City. Dude, what? Yo, you guys are strangers. She's located in the magazine. Fucking where, dude? Fucking where the fuck be Jessica, yo? Dude, is she actually marked and I'm just blind? Like, yeah, dude, no. Fucking last one. What did I need? They don't even have it. Oh my. Need vanishing powder. Give me vanishing powder. Oh, she has vanishing powder. Never mind. Okay, close enough. Actually, Lorana and Dom, attempt to undercut all these motherfuckers. That guy's funny. I like that guy. How come my pull away doesn't have global channel? That's what I need. Give me those. Give me those. I need experience and honor, reputation. I don't know. Fuck it. There we go. Now I gotta pull away. Okay, cool. That makes me feel better. Fun. Oh, I like that. That's really. Oh, minimize. Maximize. Minimize. That's sick. I like that. Let's go with that. That looks dope. The other great thing about being holy priest is they just give you all your fucking shit right away. Yeah. Alright, well, it looks like they're shutting the servers down, so who gives a fuck anyways, right? I just deleted it's gonna re-level. Oh, fuck. But I don't know what fucking disc is off the top of my head. Alright, well, servers are going down, so I'm gonna get out of here. GG's on the reviews, guys. Thanks for coming out. I'll catch you guys on the flip side of the day. Remember, love, support, namaste.